Season 2 of Wednesday doesn't just return to Nevermore, it drags the darkness out of hiding and sets it loose. Powers fail, loyalties twist, the dead refuse to stay buried, and every shadow points to a storm only Wednesday can face. Because this season isn't just a story, it's the opening move in a war already underway.
Welcome back, Wednesday. I'm still watching. Wait.
Episode 1, Back to Nevermore, Back to War. A basement in Kansas. Porcelain dolls ring a table while a man ties knots with slow care. Wednesday sits in a chair, gagged, eyes like winter. The killer tilts a doll that looks like her. She nods at a cracked puppet on the shelf and mumbles through cloth. The puppet blinks. It is Thing. He springs. The chair tips. Wednesday slips a wrist free and cuts the rest with a shard. The man swings a wrench. She ducks, rakes his knee and drives him into the shelves. Thing loops twine around his wrist. Wednesday levels a knife, then stops. A vision hits. Crows swarming. A bowling ball thuds on tile. Black tears slide. She cuffs him with his own chain and is gone before sirens arrive. Cut to the iron gates of Nevermore. Banners crack. Phones lift. Students chant her name. She keeps walking. Bianca glides in and clears a lane with 2 soft words. Give her air. Principal Barry Dorr arrives with a show smile. He thanks her for saving the school and says the founder's pyre will return. A grand fire to unite outcasts and honour her. Wednesday hears the capital letters and gives a nod that means no. Room 213 almost hugs her. Enid's welcome party is confetti and sugar. Wednesday stands in the doorway like a storm cloud until Enid claps twice and empties the room. For one breath, it is quiet, then a click. A hidden crossbow spits an arrow through the closet door and into a fresh photo with Dorr. A note dangles from the shaft. Welcome back. I'm watching. She touches the arrow. The room tilts. A vision sparks and shorts out. More black tears. Wednesday says they will find who did it, then locks the door. Jericho smells like rain and burnt coffee. Police tape flaps near the highway turnout. A private investigator lies under a cloud of crows. Sheriff Santiago blocks her. Students stay behind the line. Wednesday slides left. The sheriff shadows her. Number, a shape bolts from the trees. Wednesday's moving before the deputies can shout. She cuts through the brush, tackles the runner, and pins him. Tyler Galpin. He says the dead man was closing in on a case that touches outcasts. He says bodies are watching. Wednesday does not blink. In her book, he was always a monster. He calls after her, "You did not stumble into this. It pulled you." Family orbit starts. Morticia and Gomez tour the gardener's cottage with Dorr. Morticia traces dust and says the walls have good bones. Gomez calls it romantic. Pugsley drags a trunk up the dorm steps and swears he is not nervous. Wednesday gives him 3 rules. Do not make eye contact. Eat in silence. If danger comes, find Thing. Eugene buzzes in from the apiary and vows to help. He owes her and has bees on call. Founder's Pyre Night turns the quad into a fairground. A giant bird of pallets and rope towers over the crowd. Isabel Capri tunes a violin. A flat package slides under Wednesday's door. Inside is a painting of a crow with a red scar on one eye. A second note waits beneath. Read any new books. Her stomach drops. Her manuscript is gone. She scans the bird and sees a thin hatch in its chest. She knows where the pages are. Dork climbs the platform and gives a speech about unity and return. Enid watches from the edge. Bianca stands like a statue that can move. Torches lift. Flames lick straw wings. Wednesday walks into the mouth before anyone can stop her. Heat slaps. Smoke folds low. Inside the chest, a narrow slot holds paper grade at the edges. She yanks the stack free, jams it under her dress, and dives through a rib as the head falls. Students scream, the bird sags, she lands singed and keeps walking. An organiser waves her toward a stage draped in silk. A portrait waits under a cloth. It is meant to bless her. It is meant to tame her. She takes the mic. She says she is not a banner. She is not a mascot. Heroes do not pose for murals. If you need a shrine, burn it. She lights the cloth. Silk shrivels. Paint blisters. Hush. Night eats the noise. Wednesday sits by the window with her cello. The bow draws a thin line through the dark. She blinks and the room is gone. Fog. A narrow path. Iron railings with crows-like notes. A headstone waits with a name she knows. Enid Sinclair. Dirt fresh. A voice behind her. Bright and broken. You did this? The bow shakes. The line of sound frays and snaps. She opens her eyes to the glass in the quiet. A black tear gathers and slides.
Thing? Get help.
Episode 2. Pranks, plots and a clock tower noose. Morning lands heavy. Morticia sits on the edge of the bed and studies the dried stains under Wednesday's eyes. She names it with a steady voice. Psychic burnout. Push a gift too far and the body leaks. She asks for Goody's book to shield her daughter for a while. Wednesday folds her hands and says no. She will not hand over a guide she did not choose. Morticia tells her to slow down. Wednesday stands and reaches for her boots instead. The school wakes to prank day. Alarms bleat like goats. Pies fly past gargoyles. Enid arrives with a paper crown and a hug that Wednesday ducks. Ajax promises a proper date and then stones himself in the mirror by mistake. Enid laughs so she will not cry. Down by the bee shed, Pugsley shows his new secret. He hides a zombie he calls Slurp. Tame, he swears. A Slurp burps honey across Eugene's shoes. Wednesday says a pet should not crave brains. Pugsley says it is fine. It is not fine. Wednesday reaches for a vision and gets only heat. She grips a rail and waits for the flash, but nothing comes. Black tears bead and fall. Worst time. Worst place. Enid offers a sleeve. Wednesday wipes her face and calls it dust. They both know it is not dust. She tries again with a ring, a doorknob, a photo edge. Nothing. The gift has a lock on it and someone else is holding the key. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Welcome back, my dear. Another text arrives with a doodled heart and a string of letters. She checks the caller ID and sees the line routes through Donovan Galpin's mailbox. Dead men should not have working voicemail. She brings it to Sheriff Santiago. The sheriff says Tyler is locked in Willow Hill and says Wednesday loves to invent monsters. Wednesday walks out before the speech hits full volume. The heart on the card is not romance. It is a clue. A heart is a stop on a pipe organ. The letters match note names. She heads for the music room. The benches shine with dust. Wednesday sits, sets her fingers, and plays the clean sequence. On the last chord, a latch turns. A panel slides. Cold air spills through a seam and brushes her shoes. The passage winds to the clock tower. Ropes hang like ribs. A typewriter waits under a hatch. A riddle sits in the roller. What do you refuse to see? Metal breath above. Knives lower on cables. She scans the shelves. Titles in a row. A gap. Not refuse? Cannot. She types, The Invisible Man. Gears choke and stop. Knives are held inches from her face. She lets her hands stop shaking. Footsteps scrape behind a pillar. Dust shifts. A girl appears as if the air remembers her shape. Agnes, a student who bends light and vanishes in daylight. She says she built the game because Wednesday never sees her. She swears she is not the stalker, only a fan with bad ideas and decent wiring. She blackmailed a few kids to install the rig. Then she holds out a phone wrapped in tape. Donovan Galpin's. Found in a vent. No thanks given. Back on the quad, prank day keeps its rhythm. Lockers puke foam. Benches moo. Wednesday walks by with a taped phone in her pocket and a new line of questions. She runs the call log. Numbers loop and vanish. She pockets the note and the photo and keeps moving. She listens for a step she cannot place. The one that dodges the light and hides in noise. Out on the road, a transport van rattles toward Willow Hill. Inside a cage, Slurp sways and drools. The driver stops for coffee and forgets the rear lock. Slurp rocks forward, tests the latch and slips out. He follows the smell of sugar to a practice lot and meets a driving instructor who once yelled at Wednesday. The man lifts a cone to shoo him. Slurp grabs his wrist and feeds. The cup falls. Sirens build. Enid hears the call and goes still. Ajax reaches for her hand. She pulls back. Wednesday keeps walking and files the scene. Someone is shaking the board. First, a thief who points at a bonfire, then a clock tower noose that stops for a book title. Now, a zombie is out of a van at the exact hour the school looks away. None of this is random. It feels planned, patient, and close to home already. At lights out, Bianca knocks once and asks if she is safe. Wednesday says yes. It is not true. Crows shift on the roof as the bell strikes midnight. Far away, in a room that smells like bleach, a hand writes 3 words on a clean page and presses a red thumbprint below them. Play again, witch.
Lois.
Episode 3. Camp Jericho, games, jewels, and a dead man's phone. Morning sits heavily on the cottage. Wednesday lifts floorboards, taps stones, and checks the chimney throat for hidden shelves. She wants a line to Ophelia and to Goody, some key that steadies her visions. Morticia watches from the sill, with hands folded. That book wounds the unready, she says. I will not hand you a blade to fall on. Wednesday asks again. Morticia's smile is kind and firm at once. I had a sister who chased whispers until the whispers chased her. I will not repeat it. The air cools between them. Pugsley asks if zombies have dreams. After breakfast, Morticia walks Wednesday through a herb path toward a stone marked Ophelia. Some gifts arrive slowly, she says. Learn to wait. Wednesday pockets the word and decides she will not. On the quad, Principal Dort hunts allies. He finds Bianca under the elm and pitches the gala. Wear the crown, light the room. Open wallets, save the term. Bianca hears the old hook under his new voice. Morning Song was once called That Trick Devotion. She says she will think, and means she will watch him harder. Buses growl toward Camp Jericho. The outcasts spill out with coolers and flags. A second convoy skids in, Phoenix cadets. Double booked, says their lead, Kruger. Wednesday draws a line with 10 words. One game decides it. Steal the enemy ball, plant it on the tower, the winner keeps the camp. Whistles snap. Cadets surge with noise and cheap smoke. A can of tear gas pops near the fire circle. Ajax darts behind a sign, catches his own reflection, and stones himself for a breath. Enid drags him upright and keeps running. A cadet grabs her hood. Eugene tips a hive. Bees pour like rain and break the line. Wednesday goes low and fast. She counts 7 strides between trunks, slides under a tripwire, and finds the bright ball pinned with stakes. She tucks it tight and sprints. Another gas bloom claws her throat. She keeps her eyes half shut and moves by bark and wind. The ladder rocks. She loops a rope, rides a quick zip she knotted on the run, lands hard on splintered boards, and sets the ball at the peak. 2 horns blare. Outcasts cheer. Kruger writes her name in a small black book. While the teams bicker, she slips into trees and follows a private map. Donovan's box had a word that would not let go. Bullpen. It matches an old photo with a bull skull above a door. She finds the cabin off a blind bend by the creek. Inside, walls vanish behind maps, rosters, and bus routes. Milk crates hold files. Tabs repeat one phrase. Outcast. Status unknown. A folder waits on a chair. Front label reads LOIS. She opens it. Each missing kid sits beside a second sheet stamped Willow Hill. Some sheets carry an X, others carry a question mark. Notes mention sedatives, implants, aversion drills, and transfer vans. Someone had a method, then a net, then a rhythm to pull from both town and school. She shoots photos, resets every page, and steps back into the trees. The creek sounds like whispering when the wind shifts. Dusk warms the tents. Morticia arrives with 2 masks and 2 sabres. One match, she says, blindfolded, first to break the glass heart. If you win, you get the book. If I win, the book burns. Wednesday knots the cloth and smiles. They circle by sound. Steel taps steel. Roots grab ankles. Morticia waits, draws Wednesday close, and flicks her wrist. A clean crack. The tiny heart on Wednesday's breastplate snaps like ice. Before breath returns, Slurp smashes his crate and staggers from the trees. Campers scatter. Gomez yells for Pugsley to stay behind him. Slurp reaches for Morticia. Wednesday steps in and drives a knife through the skull plate with one hard push. The body shudders and stills. Pugsley sobs that Slurp was lonely. Morticia holds him, while guards wrap the corpse in tarps for a van to take to Willow Hill. Night cools the ridge. Enid and Bruno share a soda on a cooler and trade tiny tricks. He shuffles cards until they look like falling leaves. She shows him how to hear bees sleeping. Ajax watches from a distance, then slips away. Pugsley admits he smuggled Slurp because caring felt like purpose. Eugene says caring is fine and secrets rot fast. Wednesday stands apart, eyes on the tree line. A one-eyed raven perches on a road sign with a scar like a red thread across its face. It blinks and lifts, going upstream, silent and sure. She does not follow. Not yet.
Look at the initials.
Long-term outcast integration study.
Episode 4, Willow Hill burns. The camera glides down a white hallway that smells like bleach and old fear. Dr. Rachel Fairburn leads a quiet tour of Willow Hill. She speaks in warm tones and smooths wrinkles in a chart, as if kindness could stop a storm. Beside her walks Judy, the polite assistant with neat hair and eyes that never blink long. Doors hiss as locks open and close. One cell holds Tyler, calm on the outside, coiled on the inside. Marilyn Thornhill arrives with lilies and a smile that asks for favours. She wants time alone with him. She tries sweet words, soft blame, old memories. Tyler listens and then says 5 seconds. She runs. He laughs like rain on tin. Cut to a cheap motel. Uncle Fester checks in under a name that sounds like a prank. He pays in cash and tips in coins. The wall buzzes as he charges a fork with his fingers. A staffer hears the static, calls it in, and Sheriff Santiago arrives with 2 deputies. Fester grins at the cuffs. Free ride, he says. Next stop, Willow Hill. In the cottage, Thing hears the news on a police scanner app he should not have. He sketches a map of the hospital vents, labels cameras with tiny skulls, and tucks a paperclip into his cuff. The plan is simple. Crawl in, pop locks. Crawl out with Fester. The simple rarely live long. Night settles like a lid. Wednesday moves along the tree line with a backpack and a face that refuses doubt. She has 2 goals. Find what Lois is and get Fester back before sunrise. She reaches a side door and waits for the shift bell. A guard lights a cigarette and turns his head. The Thing slips the latch. They slide into a service corridor that hums with old power. A warning light flickers on a panel. Wednesday marks, turns with chalk, and counts steps under her breath. She hears air move behind walls, like cages breathing. Riot rides in on one cut wire. The lights go out, then pulse, die for real. A siren starts, fails, then wails again in a broken loop. Cell bolts click at once. 46 doors swing, 46 patients spill into black halls. Slurp, strapped to a gurney, rips the buckles and stands taller than he did at camp. He finds a nurse and eats the rest of her name tag before she can scream. Dr. Fairburn runs for the security office, pulls a manual lever and tries to reset the grid. A shadow falls over the glass. The shadow has a mouth, the glass breaks. She is gone in 3 bites and a drag. In the parking lot, Judy walks away in the red pulse of an alarm and then is simply not there. Sheriff Santiago takes the radio and names 3 ghosts. A fugitive alert goes out. Uncle Fester, John Doe. Tyler Galpin. She orders a full cordon, more units from the county, and a drone launch that no one has fuel for. Her voice stays steady. Her hand shakes once. Wednesday moves down a stairwell that smells like dust and cold metal. At the bottom sits a door with 4 deadbolts and a small brass plaque. Research storage. Inside, a room that is not a room. It is a lab hidden under a morgue. Cages wired to consoles. Bird bones in trays. A wall covered in notes, crowded with the same name. Stonehurst. Photos show a man with sad eyes and a girl with bandaged wrists. A child's drawing shows a woman with wings. In a glass case sits a file stamped LOIS. She reads fast. The letters stand for Limbic Override Induction System, Serum plus Pulses, Hypnosis plus Shock. The goal is blunt. Move an outcast gift into a normie body. The side note is worse. Subject J stable at last. Hybrid status, full command of corvid flocks. She sees Judy's neat hair in a photo with a birthday cake. Footsteps pad above. The breakers kick, then explode as Fester finds a lever and feeds a storm into it. Sparklers race along the ceiling and die in smoke. Freed patients pour down the stairs. Some laugh, some cry, some sing old songs. In the crush, Laurel Gates slips a cuff, scoops up her lilies and ghosts past a curtain of steam. Wednesday and Laurel meet eyes through the wire mesh. 2 paths, 2 fires. They break apart without a word. Wednesday steps back, closes the file and tucks a page inside her jacket. A shape fills the doorway and blocks the light. Tyler is half boy, half threat. His smile is the soft kind that hides a blade. He looks at the cages, then at her, then at the page in her pocket. "You took my picture," he says. He moves toward her with 2 steps and changes before the 3rd. The hide stands where the boy stood. The claws flash. The swing lifts her and throws her through the nearest window. The glass bites. Gravel tears her palms. She lies on the ground and tastes dirt, copper and rain. In the staff garden, petals float in a puddle. Laurel backs away with her hands up and a voice like sugar. Tyler gives her 5 seconds. He does not need 6. The lilies scatter. Above, the asylum howls like an animal in a trap. In the dark, birds turn as one and wheel toward town. She sits up slowly, holds her side, and watches them go. The machine she came to name does not care that she is brave. It keeps humming.
And that assumes the recipe for Thornhill's brew is correct.
Episode 5. Graves, Guides, and a Body Swap. White sheets, a heart monitor clicks. Wednesday wakes with dry black tracks on her cheeks. In the chair, Weems sits in grey light, more shade than person. Her voice is calm. "Power without discipline devours itself," she says. "Balance." The door opens to nurses and the image thins. Wednesday swings down and reaches for her boots. At Willow Hill, cameras blink while Judy faces the press. She calls the blackout an accident and says the hospital will close for a short time. Patients will be moved and staff will be reassigned. She blots tears and smiles for flashes. Sheriff Santiago waits with a folder. 46 out, 43 back, she tells her team later. Not an accident, a plan. Back at Nevermore, a black car rolls through the gate. Grandmama Hester steps out in velvet and calls the school charming. The way people talk about a crypt. Principal Barry Dorr meets her with a grin that does math. He sells a memorial march for the lost. A wall of names, candles, and Hester very large. Hester laughs. Death already has her money. Bianca listens from the steps, jaw set. Wednesday walks until trees swallow the path. She carries chalk, a candle, and a square with a name. Professor Rosalind Rutwood. Her grave sits under ivy, the stone slick. The rite is plain, speak the lines, light the cold flame, hold your palm above it, and the sight will mend. She kneels, whispers, strikes the match. The fire blooms blue. She sets her hand and breathes. Leaves rustle. Enid runs up the path, voice shaking. Wednesday, stop. You cannot do this alone. The words cut the focus. Her hand jerks. The blue light snaps and steals the air. The ground tips. Both girls drop. Crows lift. They wake on wet grass under the wrong sky. Enid sits first and sees pale hands in black cuffs. She gasps in Wednesday's voice, slaps palm over her mouth. Wednesday opens her eyes inside Enid's freckles and stands in the too sunny. A phone screen shows the truth. They test names, steps, faces, and swallow the panic. Switch back fast, hide the mistake. Enid, in Wednesday's body, walks like a tightrope walker and forgets to blink. Bianca stops her with a question. Enid tries a glare and grows a smile instead. Agnes fades in near a stair and tilts her head, puzzled. In the cottage, Morticia pours tea and looks through. She says "My little storm" and the wrong daughter answers "Yes, mother" in a tone that rings. The cup rattles once. Morticia says nothing more. Wednesday in Enid's body hits the quad and leaves dents. She hugs too hard. She opens a locker and the door comes away in her hand. Bruno brings flowers and a soft plan. She answers in 5 flat words. It lands like a verdict. Later, she tries a book compliment and sounds like a judge. Ajax waves from the path, then stares. Enid is smiling, but the smile shows teeth. Music room. Professor Capri tunes a viola by touch. Wednesday asks about hides in a voice that is not hers. Capri studies the eyes, not the face. She speaks of one she loved. He broke free of a master, but he died free. Some female hides can live without a leash, she adds. They learn to ride the wolf. In the high window, a thin figure slides past. Outside, a second hide moves on the roof. Francis is back in cold silence. Rumours race. Judy calls donors. Dork prints programmes. The memorial march will end in the quad with white roses and a wall that has gaps where the uncounted should be. Hester tries on a black hat and checks the lens. Bianca meets her in a stairwell and holds silence long enough to sting. Then she asks for her phone. She needs to call her mother. Daughter appears and smiles like a lock. Bianca walks away empty-handed. Night presses in. The play continues. Enid in Wednesday writes with her left hand and dots every sentence with a tiny heart before she remembers. Wednesday. In Enid studies notes from the Book of Shadows and draws a plan in tidy squares. Agnes knocks and slides in like fog. "You are not you," she says. Her eyes are kind. "You have 12 hours. She closes the door. The camera drifts over Rutwood's grave again. The candle still smokes. In the trees, a second shape cuts the moon and drops from sight. The reset path stays open, but the price already drew blood. Wednesday looks at her borrowed hands and closes them into fists. Enid breathes and practices a flat stare in the mirror until her face aches.
Until the night, the lab exploded.
Episode 6. Heists, Hearts and Hides. Night over Nevermore. In the ruined wing, Professor Rosalind studies blueprints. Isaac Knight steps in, grey and calm, like he crawled back from a grave. He asks for the notes and the machine. Rosalind reaches for the alarm. The lamp tips. A flash. Smoke clears. The professor is still. The window gapes to cold air. Agnes hears the crash, turns invisible, sees Rosalind dead, feels Isaac notice, and slips away in the dark. Before dawn, in a boarded safe house by the creek, Isaac visits Francis and Tyler. A kerosene lamp stutters on a crate. He shows the blueprint scars on his palms and says the cure requires the old lab, the only place his notes still make sense. They trade one look, gather what they can, and follow him back to Willow Hill. Morning puts Wednesday in the looping cage. Bars, a narrow bench, a dusty bowl of water. Enid appears with 2 keys and a do not argue look. One lock with a stolen key, one with a hairpin. They step into the hall, shoulder to shoulder, saying nothing because the clock is loud. Agnes has sent a pin. Willow Hill. A light moves on a map. The girls grab tools from the shed, pull up their hoods and take the old road. The hospital squats ahead, boarded and black. A glow leaks from a loading dock. Inside, bleached air and metal chatter lead them down. They find the old surgery. The machine hums, coils and cables everywhere, glass jars ticking faintly on a steel tray, as if the room remembers orders from years ago. Isaac works the controls with a monk's calm. Francis stands beside him, one hand at her throat. Tyler is strapped to the table, leather tight across chest and wrists. He laughs. Isaac wants silence. He wants a battery. Pugsley is the battery. He sits wired to a switchboard. Copper bands tight around wrists, jaw set. Wednesday and Enid step into the light together. Francis calls it a cure. Kill the hide and save the boy. Tyler spits the word, murder. Pugsley looks at his sister and waits. In Wednesday's head, Morticia's rule rings clear. Protect your brother first. Sirens swell outside. Isaac gives the word. Pugsley pulls power from the storm over the roof. Lights burn white. The loop screams. Tyler arches as the hide thrashes inside his skin. Wednesday runs for the straps. Thing drops from a vent, knife between fingers. A belt falls. Enid braces the table. Francis tells Tyler to hold on. Then the change rips free, but not from him. Wednesday is still wearing Enid's skin. The scent, the fear, the moon through a cracked pane push her over the edge. Claws bud, teeth lengthen, she half wolves and slams into Tyler as the hide tears loose. They crash into trays and cables, trading wild swings, neither fully in control. Tyler's laugh turns feral. Wednesday bites his shoulder and tastes iron. He hurls her into a cart. She rolls and springs. Enid's body takes the hit. Wednesday's will does the fighting. For 10 seconds it is wolf against hide, raw and close, until Francis roars and rips Tyler free. Francis breaks, bones crack. When she stands again, a grey wolf stares out through human grief. She lifts Tyler, smashes a panel, and throws sparks across the floor. Isaac shields the core and keeps the machine alive. Wednesday yanks the leads from Pugsley's bands and drags him clear. The room smells like copper and rain. Deputies rush down the back hall. Frances threads fire and wires with Tyler on her shoulder. A beam drops and blocks Wednesday. Enid tries the side route. Isaac slips into a service tunnel and is gone. They reach the rain. Pugsley trembles and crackles like a dying bulb. Wednesday holds him until the snap in his hands fades. Sirens comb the lot. Frances and Tyler vanish into trees. Isaac's shadow slips a different way. The hospital hum sinks low. By dawn the alarms die. They climb to Rutwood's grave. Candle and chalk wait. They kneel, speak the lines. Blue flame rises. They hold their hands over heat that does not burn, counting heartbeats until the shimmer steadies. The world tilts. Wind tugs, then stills. Faces fit again. The swap is done. No hug, no joke. Alpha does not have to mean alone, Wednesday says. Enid nods. Clouds thin. A bell rings. Wynne carries a voice that is almost a memory. Weems patient as ever. A debt is owed, and Adams will pay it. The words reach Wednesday at the edge of the stones. She shuts her notebook, breathes once, and walks toward whatever asks for blood next now.
We didn't speak again.
Spare me your saccharine stroll down memory lane.
Episode 7, Gala Night, Stone and Sirens. 15 years ago, a Florida bar hums with bad neon. Young Dort buys a beer for a broke actor named Gideon. He talks about a bright morning for lost people, a banner for them to gather under. He names it Morning Song and crowns Gideon its face. The bar claps once, then goes quiet. Now Dort has a bigger room and colder eyes. He wants money, power and applause. Gabrielle, Bianca's mother, becomes his lever. He hides her in his house and calls Bianca with a soft threat. Help me or your mother pays. He also courts Grandmama Hester. He brings flowers that smell like varnish. A gala will show unity, he says. A speech will open hearts. A signature will move her fortune into Nevermore. He rehearses his smile in every window. Wednesday hears enough to spot the lock. If Dort plans to face a siren, he will wear armour. She and Agnes shadow him and see him tap his vest each time Bianca passes. A small coral pocket watch rides there. It blocks siren sway. It is the key. They plan on breath and timing. Agnes turns invisible and bumps him near the trophy case. He checks the pocket. Good. The thing spills punch on his cuff. He looks down. Wednesday wipes the stain and lifts the chain. The watch is warm, buzzing like a trapped fly. Behind the curtain, she presses it into Bianca's hand. For the first time all week, Bianca breathes easy. The hall fills with donors and parents. Lights bloom. Banners creak. Dort takes the stage and spreads his arms. He praises the students and their bright future. He points to Hester and calls her a legend. When he beckons Bianca up, she moves smoothly, chin high, fear tucked deep. She faces him, voice steady on the mic. Tell them everything. He blinks. She repeats, stronger. Tell them everything. Without the watch, his guard is gone. Words spill. He admits he revived a dead tradition to sell the school to rich eyes. He admits he grabbed Gabrielle so Bianca would perform. He admits he made a deal with Gideon to split gift, used Morning Song as a mask, then killed him when he asked for more. The room freezes. Hester's jaw sets, phones rise, gasps ripple everywhere. Dort lunges and clamps Bianca's arm. Ajax is already moving. He drops his glasses, meets Dort's stare, and Stone climbs skin like frost. Dort locks mid-snarl, hand on Bianca, and the hall whispers. Above them, a tired hook groans. The chandelier sags. Wednesday shouts. Bianca rolls clear. The fixture snaps loose and crashes down. The stone statue shatters in a heavy crack. Dust blooms, shards skitter. Silence stretches, then noise pours in from every side. A violin screams as it falls. Someone prays. Someone laughs because they are afraid. Police arrive fast. Sheriff Santiago sets a perimeter and pushes cameras back. Ajax and Bianca guide Gabrielle out of a side door. Hester stands straight and calls for a pen. She will fund the school, she says, but she signs under two names. Morticia Adams, Gomez Adams. Wednesday asks for it that way and waits until the ink dries. Hester gives her a dry smile, half respect, half warning. The gift is theirs in stone. Wednesday watches the ink sink and folds her arms. The cost shows at once. Pugsley is gone. His chair sits empty, a plate of cake untouched. Eugene runs in from the yard, pale. A hand map lies on the floor. A torn glove stinks of ozone. Lightning, Wednesday follows boot prints to the door and a smear on the step. Outside, the wind smells like a storm that has not started yet. Morticia waits in the cottage when Wednesday returns. The old story is ready. In Iago Tower, Isaac built a machine to pull the hide out of Francis. It needed power that no wall socket could give. Gomez tried to help. He can call lightning when the storm agrees. Isaac strapped him down and reached for all of it. The surge lit the night. The blast saved Francis and burned out Gomez's gift. We buried what was left under Skulltree. Wednesday opens her hands. Isaac walks again. He needs a battery. He needs a lure. Pugsley can call lightning on a dry day. Isaac took him. The past did not die. It learned to hide. She steps back into the dark. The rain starts. The gala music fades behind the doors. In the wet dirt, small prints skip twice and smear into a drag. She lowers her head to the wind, hears a far roll of thunder and starts to run. Episode 8. Midnight hands, hearts and a howl. Skulltree waits in the rain. Wednesday steps into the roots with her lantern low. Isaac is already there. Thing taps bark twice. Now, Tyler keeps to the shadows, jaw tight, afraid to move. Wednesday speaks first. Give me my brother. Isaac smiles and talks about cures and debts, about the night he burned out Gomez for Francis. Tyler flinches. Thing leaps from a knot and slashes Isaac's wrist. Sparks crawl over a grafted seam and die. Isaac whips a cable and knocks Thing from the trunk. The lantern rolls. Isaac shows his upgrade. From his sleeve, a second wrist clicks open. Wires twitch. A pale heart beats in a jar at his belt. He lifts his palm, soil shivers, roots unknot. Ground opens. Wednesday draws her blade and moves in fast. He is faster. The cable loops her ankles. Her knees hit mud. She cuts twice. He yanks hard. The knife falls. Tyler steps forward and says her name. The hide wants out. The boy holds it back. Isaac points at the hole. Earth takes Wednesday to the chest. He lowers a plank and a lid. Thing claws the dirt and finds wood. One hand against a hill. Full moon clears the cloud. Enid hears it from far off. She stands at the loop-in pen. Choice is simple. Save her friend or save herself. She unlocks the door. She whispers sorry to the moon. Bones crack. Fur runs like fire. A howl rolls over the school. Agnes feels it and runs, fading between trees. They reach the mound together. Thing scratches a line to mark the head. The wolf digs. Claws throw mud. Agnes slides in and clears space by the face. She talks to the dirt. Keep still. Keep listening. We have you. A clump breaks. Air slips in. A cough rattles. The wolf braces and drags. Wednesday comes up wet and gasping. She hugs the fur. The wolf leans once and lets her go. No time to rest. A tower light flares on the ridge. Iago waits. They follow the glow and hot copper. Inside, Pugsley sits wired to plates and coils. Tyler is strapped to a table. Francis strokes his cheek and calls him a good boy. Isaac trims dials and nods to Pugsley. Lightning crawls over the cable. The machine wakes. Wednesday cuts the straps with a shard of glass. Morticia appears at her side. Sleeves wet, eyes dry. Francis sees it and breaks. The hide comes in a rush. Brown fur and teeth. A scream that shakes dust from beams. Tyler breaks too. Hide meets hide in the centre. The crash kicks the rig into the wall. The roof coughs up fire. Morticia pulls Pugsley free and holds him hard. Wednesday yanks a coil from the mount. Sparks bite her hands. The machine howls and blows. Heat slams them both to the floor. A slice of the roof tilts and falls. Francis slides with it and drops through the smoke. She does not rise. Smoke and alarms fill the room. Isaac walks in with the jar, heart pumping. He wraps his hands around Wednesday's throat. No speeches. Just pressure. Gomez staggers in and begs. Take me. Leave my child. Isaac squeezes harder. Morticia calls a name. Thing. The hand drops from a beam. Isaac flips a switch. A magnetic collar yanks him to the open wrist. For a beat, he is part of Isaac again. That hand was mine, Isaac says. Thing spasms. Morticia says his name like a prayer. He rips himself free in a spray of sparks, then climbs Isaac like a rope. 5 fingers bite. He drives into the panel at Isaac's ribs, digs and pulls. The jar rattles loose. The wet heart slips free. Thing flings it across the stones. It bursts and goes still. Isaac lets go and sits like a puppet with cut strings. He slides down the wall, quiet. Breath returns. Gomez holds Wednesday and says her full name. Pugsley cries. Morticia takes Thing in both hands and kisses each knuckle. Outside, the moon sinks behind clouds. School closes for the term. Lockers bang. Buses cough. Bianca thanks Ajax for the steps for the stone. Hester funds a crypt lab, wants no name. Capri meets Tyler at the gate. No master, a pack. Think on it? He says nothing. His eyes track the trees beyond. By morning, Enid is gone. Capri vanishes too. Ophelia's journal lies open on Wednesday's desk. A drawing shows a locked door where there should not be one. Hester walks into a private hall and slides a panel. Inside, a woman looks up. Ophelia breathes and waits, listening. A one-eyed raven crosses and lands on a stone. Wednesday looks up and listens. Friends scattered? Secrets grow louder. Wednesday keeps the cello, her scars and the caseboard. Then heads to find Enid. unlock Ophelia's door, and face whoever trains crows to circle. If the Raven blinks, Season 3 starts with a smile. If you enjoyed this recap, then don't forget to subscribe and check out our next one, shown on screen.